Now, sometimes I am asked to justify my title. Whenever I select these titles, this is because this is an age of interdisciplinary. You cannot, the specialization is okay, but super specialization has its own drawbacks. So it is the interdisciplinary approach that is encouraged and that is appreciated at different fora and different platforms. And sometimes people used to ask me that what is the relation between law and technology? Now you see that the technology, you see it everywhere, and law is also, you can see and you can experience and you can see it everywhere and in every field of life. And it is said that even amidst the clash of arms, law is not silent. No, information technology is there. So long as the technology was good, so long as the people were using it instead of misusing it, law had no role. And once the people started misusing and abusing this technology, so the law has to step in and regulate the behavior of the people. And that is how I can justify this title, the Demystifying the Information Technology Act 2000, with reference to the cyber crimes. Now I will move to the next slide. That is, you see that internet has brought an information revolution. This electronic media has brought in a revolution, which we usually call as an information technology. The students of the information technology and as a students of law and other fields also regard it as, name it as an information technology revolution. And this revolution has been ushered in by, we can say that the electronic media, previously by television or radio transistors, and now you have the internet, and it is the evolving technology. And we used to call it as, it has shrunk the world to such an extent, it has done away with those distances. And previously we also used to call it as a global village. From global village we have been restricted to global city, from global city to global room, and finally to the presently we have been shrunk to the global pocket. Now when we see the impact of the technology, when we see the impact of the technology on our daily lives, I think that no words can better describe the present scenario of technology than the words of Cosmo, the villain in the movie Sneakers. This was a Hollywood movie that was made in late 1990s, I think 1994, by the Hollywood. And there were two friends, Cosmo and Martin. They were the Sneakers. Now, depends. Now, in law, everything has, you have to understand everything in the context of in which you are actually using it. Here I am using the Sneakers, which refers to the American band of musicians. Also, Sneakers use that brand of shoes also. But here, the Sneakers in the context of computers refer to the hackers. Actually, these two friends, Cosmo and Martin, were actually the hackers. They were the university graduates studying in somewhere in United States of America. What they used to do, they used to hack into the different systems using the university equipments, and whatever money they used to collect through these illegal means, they used to spend it for some good purposes. And so they were that Robin Hood type. But still, in law we say that motive may be good or bad, but if you are doing something illegal, that is illegal. So they were hackers, no doubt about that. Now one day what happened? The police burst in and they arrest Cosmo while the Martin, his friend, was out. Now before his arrest, Cosmo makes a statement. He tells his friend, and I think that's the best statement that best explains that what is the impact of technology on the human life today. He tells him that, my friend, the world is not run by weapons anymore. It is not run by energy or money. It is run by ones and zeros, little bits of data. It is all electrons. There is a war out, a world war. It is not about who has the most bullets. It is about who controls the information. What we see and hear, how we work, what we think, it is all about information. So if students ask me today, who is the richest person today in the world? I will not name any person belonging to the Tata Group of Industry or any Ambani. I will tell them that it's a Google, which is the richest person in the world. Though in strict terminology, we cannot consider Google as a person. But so you can get any information. So the more information you have, that much richer you are. So we cannot imagine a life today without computers. You can see the computers everywhere. There is a renowned scholar, that is Professor Scott, who has written extensively on the computer law and the cyber crimes. He says that only a hermit would be unaware of the degree to which the computers have permeated every aspect of our lives. From cradle to the grave, our activities are influenced, recorded, tracked, and controlled by the computers. So that is the influence of the computers I'm trying to portray here. Now, you see that a computer gets associated with a person even before his birth. When CAT scanners, or simply we can say that CT scanners, computer-aided tomography scanners are used to detect the birth defect, or when we have these instruments, computers instruments, which are used to determine the sex of the child. And these computers remain associated with a person even for some time after his death. Sometimes you have to ascertain what are the causes of death. Sometimes you have to settle the insurance-related issues. Now, there the computers will help you, and that is why we can say that the computers remain associated with a person. During his lifetime, it starts with his birth, from cradle to the grave, and it continues to remain associated with a person even for some time after his death. Now, sometimes knowingly and sometimes unknowingly, we use the computers. Whether you have to go to an ATM to withdraw money, whether you have to drive a car, whether you have to drive a motorcycle, whether you have to design a new dress, whether you have to design a new building, or whether you have to go to the grocery shop. Everywhere, in every form, everywhere every place you have to use this system, this computer in one way or the other way. And this is, I think, this is the sector that has been revolutionized, totally revolutionized by the internet. It is a boon for the business establishments. Now the customers have unlimited choice. They can reach to any supplier. They need not confine themselves to any particular places and the particular jurisdictions. So similarly, it has proved to be a boon for the marketers also, these companies also, who have who have expanded their jurisdiction. You can reach to any customer in any corner of the world, right? Then yeah, I have that these are the sector. Now this is, I am telling you that this is not an exhaustive list. I am giving you the about the sectors which have been revolutionized. I am just trying to reiterate what has already been stated, I'm just trying to explore and put before you what has already been explored. These are the sectors: education sector, health sector, and legal practice is not an exception. These have been revolutionized, and I think being the computer experts, it will be just like showing a candle, that is putting a candle just in front of a sunlight to tell you that how the internet has revolutionized the education sector, health system, or the legal practices. And this is something which hardly needs an elaboration. Now, this is something which is very important. Now, this is, as I said, that almost every aspect of the life has been influenced by the technology, by the computers, by the internet. Now, before the advent of technology, we had the laws, they were working very well. Now, once the internet came, it has been posing, and it is still today posing challenges to the fundamental principles of law, which worked very well before the advent of technology. Now, there is a debate going on that should we have altogether different laws in the wake of this technology development, or the traditional laws, the conventional laws which were there before the advent of technology, they are flexible enough to deal with these new types of issues that have cropped up due to the introduction of the information technology. Now, I bear this thing in mind that you are the scholars, you are the teachers of the computer science, but at least you may have some knowledge about the laws, that where from these laws have originated. You know that these laws have been these have been enacted. These were enacted when India was a British colony. So these laws were enacted by the Britishers, and some of the laws, they were enacted within the first 2 decades after the independence. And during that period, computers had not made so much influence, and we can say that the internet was simply not existing at that time. And most of these laws, that is pre-existing laws, which were existing prior to the technology, prior to the introduction of computers, prior to the introduction of the internet. Those laws assumed physical environment, geographical boundaries, and tangible documents and records. As again stated, you have the cyberspace, a hypothetical space, where there are no seasons, there is no winter, there is no autumn, there is no spring. It is an absolute environment. It is a unique architecture. There is no geographical boundary. There are no borders. There is no time. It mostly applies in case of the intangible things. It has no respect for the geographical boundary and the tangible documents. There in the cyberspace, everything exists in the form of digits. Now the question is, the laws which you have enacted, keeping in mind the physical environment, geographical boundaries, how you are going to apply those laws in this intangible world? That is the challenge posed by the technology to the basic fundamental principles of the law. Now here I would like to highlight some of the challenges which have been posed by the cyberspace to this to the traditional laws. Take the example of jurisdictional issues. Now the traditional law, you may have heard of Indian Penal Code. Indian Penal Code applies to any crime that is committed by any person, whether citizen of India or a foreigner on Indian soil. Indian Penal Code will apply. Then that is a territorial jurisdiction. But we say that the Indian Penal Code has extraterritorial jurisdiction. Extraterritorial jurisdiction means that Indian Penal Code, it continues to apply to the Indian citizen regardless of the place where he or she is. That means if an Indian citizen commits murder anywhere in China or anywhere in USA, Indian Penal Code continues to be applicable to him because it has an extraterritorial operation. But is it going to help us in any way so far as the cyber crimes are concerned? Now, what happens? A person may be sitting in the safe confines of his home in the United States, and the target of his offense may be in India. He is a foreign national. You cannot apply Indian laws, traditional laws to him. Now, the question is how to deal with this type of criminality. We don't have any answer under the traditional laws. Yes, definitely we have got an answer under the Information Technology Act of 2000. Similarly, there is the inapplicability of the conventional definitions. Ladies and gentlemen, cyberspace is an intangible space. Many of the conventional definitions which you have there under the traditional laws, they are not applicable here. I will give only two examples. Take the example of trespass. Trespass means where you are gaining the physical entry into the premises of someone without his consent or without her consent. This is the legal definition of trespass. That is, you are gaining a physical entry into the premises of someone without his or her permission. Now, if we will strictly apply this definition of trespass in case of cyber crimes, hacking and unauthorized access will not be considered as a crimes. They are not offensive then. Because in hacking or unauthorized access, you need not physically enter into the premises where the computer is situated. Say, for example, if the computer is situated in my room, you need not physically enter into this law building, Department of Law building, and have an unauthorized access. You can have an unauthorized access to my system while sitting in some other state of India. Similarly, the definition of theft. The legal definition of theft is when you take something out of the possession of somebody without his consent. Now, if we will apply this conventional definition of theft to the cyber crimes, then stealing of the data, computer data from your computer, that will not amount to any offense. That will not amount to the theft. Because what I will do, I will insert a pen drive into your computer, copy your data, and take it in my pen drive without even deleting it from your system, without even modifying it. I have not taken anything out of your possession that is there on your system. I have only copied it, but still it amounts to stealing of data, computer data. But if we'll apply the conventional definitions, we will face the problem. Similarly, you have the anonymity of netizens, ladies and gentlemen. The computer The internet ensures anonymity. You can have an access to a system from the safe confines of your home, from the safe confines of your department, from the safe confines of your institution, with little possibility of ordinary discovery. So that creates a problem when we have to gather the evidences when we are dealing with some cybercrime. And another challenge was evidentiary value of electronic information. Now, is electronic information, whatever you write, whatever you send electronically, is it legal? Now, suppose if you are contesting a case, a criminal case in the court of law, you will be asked to give evidence in support of your claim. You will either give an oral evidence through the testimony of witnesses, or you will give the documentary evidence in the form of papers. Now the question arises, if someone stalks somebody through an internet, as we call it as a cyber stalking or cyber bullying is there. Now the question is, the emails which we have kept or the screenshots of the chats, can we produce it in the court of law as an evidence? Will judge recognize it? Does the Indian law, or for that matter, the international law also recognize the electronic evidence? Previously, we had no answer. It was not allowed. It is only the later development. I think it is 5 or 6 years back that we have granted. No. Shubham Khatri is saying no, it is not. Now, sure, I will let me make you aware that, let me tell you that now electronic evidence is legal evidence. It is permissible in the court of law. If you produce a screen chats, that is what happened in the case of Arnab Goswami. You may have read that. You may have heard about that. That those chats, the WhatsApp chats, they were treated by the court as a sort of evidence. Now, and a new Indian Evidence Act that was made in 1872, that has been amended that is developed after 2006. An amendment was made. Now electronic records, electronic evidence is a legal evidence. It is a permissible evidence. So another challenge is validity of online transactions. What is the validity of online transactions? Are they valid? We are doing this e-commerce. E-commerce has, I may say that it has virtually replaced that physical commerce we are doing physically using tangible documents. Now, is this legally valid? Is it recognized anywhere? Tomorrow you may be facing some problem. Can you prove it before the court of law that I purchased something online and I was cheated? Does law recognize these online transactions? The answer is yes. But at one point of time, there was a problem. Now, suppose I meet in the physical, when you are physically present at one place, suppose in District Srinagar, in University of Kashmir, I make an offer to Dr. Fahim that will you sell me your laptop for rupees 50,000? Mr. Fahim, Dr. Fahim tells me, yes, I am willing to sell you the laptop. You pay me 50,000 rupees. Okay. Now I pay 50,000 rupees, but Dr. Fahim is not handing over the laptop to me. We call it in legal terminology breach of contract. So Dr. Fahim has committed breach of contract. So where I can file a case against Dr. Fahim here, since the contract has been concluded face to face, we have met in University of Kashmir face to face. Law says that the contract is concluded in University of Kashmir, and University of Kashmir is in District Srinagar. Therefore, the courts in District Srinagar can try this case. You cannot take this case to any other district. That is the law. Face to face. Now, suppose I am sending a letter to the Dr. Fahim that I want to purchase your laptop, and Dr. Fahim sends his acceptance through the letter from Delhi. He posts this letter of acceptance. Dr. Fahim posts this letter of acceptance from Delhi. It reaches to me, but the laptop is not given to me. Now, again, there is a breach of contract. Now, you have to decide where the contract is concluded. Is it concluded in University of Kashmir, or it is concluded in Union Territory of Delhi? The law says in case of post, the contract is concluded where the letter is posted, not at the place where the letter is received. So the contract is concluded in New Delhi, and in case there is any dispute, we have to file a case against each other in New Delhi. That is the postal communication. Now, if it is an instantaneous means of communication, ladies and gentlemen, say I am making an offer through the mobile phone, and Dr. Fahim is accepting this offer from New Delhi. By receiving my call, he says, yes, I agree, I accept your offer. Now the question is, where the contract is concluded? The contract is concluded not at a place where he speaks the words of acceptance, but the contract is concluded where I hear the words of acceptance. Since I hear the words of acceptance from University of Kashmir, the contract is concluded at University of Kashmir. Now the question, where the contract is concluded is very important, because that will decide where you can take the dispute in case any dispute arises. If Dr. Fahim fails to supply me the laptop, if he supplies the laptop that is defective, that will determine where I have to file a case. Now the question is, suppose I send an offer through an email. Suppose I use an electronic means of communication. There are so many means of communication, electronic means of communication. I use any means of communication, electronic means of communication, to send an offer, to receive the acceptance. Now the question is, which rule you will apply? Will you apply face-to-face rule? Will you apply the poster rule? Will you apply the rule that applies in case of the mobile phone, which is instantaneous? Instantaneous means you will immediately come to know whether it has been accepted or not. Now, you may say that it is instantaneous. Internet is also instantaneous, but one means of communication which we are using in internet is electronic mail. That is not instantaneous. When you send an email to somebody, it involves that element of storage and forwardness. And so after a fraction of seconds, you receive the message that yes, email has been sent. Then the other person, the recipient, the addressee to whom you are sending this email, he will come to know about your email only when he opens the email box and looks for the emails. So it always takes some time, although only fraction of seconds, but some time it takes. So it brings it close to a non-instantaneous. So we cannot apply the telephonic rule and instantaneous. As against it, you have the online websites. You have the Amazon, Flipkart. They are maintaining the websites where they host their business details. And once you are willing to purchase something, you can get in touch with them through their websites, and you will immediately come to know whether your offer has been accepted or not, whether they are going to supply it or not. So that is something which is instantaneous. So there is, so you may prefer that telephonic rule should apply because instantaneous, but there should be some uniformity. To email, you can't apply one rule, and to the web-based contracts, you will apply different rule. That will bring the chaos, and the objective of the law is to bring the uniformity and put an end to the chaos. So there was no answer under the traditional laws to these questions, but the IT Act 2000 has an answer. Similarly, this artificial intelligence, you may consider it now you may consider these issues traditional, but for me, being a student of law, these are still, most of these are still, we are facing them as the challenges even today. Artificial intelligence, you have an autonomous computer. You have an autonomous computer that is working without a human intervention. Suppose this autonomous computer commits a crime. Who is to be held responsible? Or leave aside crime. Suppose an autonomous computer is making an offer, and an autonomous computer that is programmed through artificial intelligence is accepting that offer, and there is some breach, there is some issue. Who will sue whom and where? Now, actually, do we recognize these computers which are working independently of the human intervention through artificial intelligence? Can we consider that these have the personality of their own? Can we treat them as persons, as we treat the companies as persons? Now, here I would like to tell you, there are two types of persons. Natural person, you and me are the natural persons. And there are the persons which the law says that these are persons and you have to treat them as the persons. Say a company, a Microsoft company is a person. Google is a person. That means Google can sue, Google can file a case, and a case can be filed against Google. Google can own the property, Google can sell the property. That is a personality, and we cannot challenge it because this is a personality which has been given to these companies by the law. Law treats them artificial persons, legal persons for the sake of these legal transactions. But the question is, when the computers work autonomously, can a computer file a case against a computer in its own name? That is to be seen. And the law as we have today, the computers don't have any personality. Computers are merely considered as the agents of the person who actually owns them and who actually programs them, who actually controls them. So these were some of the challenges which we are facing. Now let us move to our own topic, that is cyber crimes. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir, very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Now, cybercrime is a new challenge to the institution of law. This is going to be actually, we are going to debate this. Now, again, the technology in general and cyber crimes in particular, especially. Now, I may tell you here that when the Information Technology Act came, 2000, Information Technology Act, now its objective was only twofold. Number one, to grant legal recognition to the electronic commerce, number one. And number two, to grant legal recognition to the electronic governance. There was no cybercrime concept at that time. Once it started becoming order of the day, once people started misusing this technology instead of using it. So an amendment was made in the Information Technology Act 2000 in the year 2008, and a separate chapter on offenses was incorporated, which makes these certain acts relating to the computers punishable. Now there are two schools of thought. One school of thought says that cyber crimes are not in any way different from the traditional crimes, be it a theft, a dacoity, robbery, extortion. It is not in any way different from. The only difference is that by thrusting hand into the pocket of someone, you are using the technology now to commit crime. By committing a bank robbery, instead of going with 2 or 3 goons there and robbing them of money at gunpoint, you do one thing: you hack a website and steal the whole money. But another school of thought says that no, this technology is unique. So the technology is unique. The issues which are cropping out due to this technology, those issues are also unique. And these unique issues cannot be tackled under the traditional system, under the traditional laws. You have new crimes which are emerging. You have hacking, cyber stalking, espionage, email bombing, pornography, cyberbullying, phishing, cyber terrorism, to name few. So to deal with such types of crimes, you need to have some different law. You cannot deal with such types of crimes under the traditional laws for the challenges which I have already discussed with you. Now, so far as the cyber crimes are concerned, you can broadly classify. You can see n number of classifications given by different scholars regarding the cyber crimes. But I have tried to make it comprehensive. Broadly speaking, we can classify these cyber crimes into 2 categories. Number one, where the computer is itself the target of crime. The criminal wants to target the computer itself. His target is not any particular person. For example, sabotaging a particular computer or a computer network, one. Or theft of intellectual property rights, that is theft of some software. That is where you have the target of the criminal is computer. But most of the crimes belong to the second category. That is why computer facilitates the commission of crime. That is, computer is used as an instrument to commit a crime. ATM frauds, you have frauds relating to the electronic commerce, telecommunication frauds, credit card frauds, cyber stalking, cyber bullying, gambling, right? Pornography. These are all the crimes where the computer is used as an instrument, but the target is a particular person or a particular institution or a particular group of persons. But this is not an exhaustive classification. You can classify it the way, as I said, it has been classified by different people differently. Now, Indian scheme, how in India we are dealing with these cyber crimes. We have adopted in India that Parliament has adopted twofold strategy. Two-pronged strategy is there to deal with these cyber crimes. One, the traditional laws have been amended, as I gave you the example of Evidence Act, that an Indian Evidence Act, which was enacted in 1872, it has been amended now to make the electronic records as permissible evidence. You can produce the witnesses, you can give the documents as an evidence, and similarly you can produce emails or these electronic records or screenshots of the group chats as an evidence in the court of law, or even for that matter, an SMS can be shown as in the court of law as an evidence, piece of evidence. Second is, the Parliament has enacted a totally new law. It is not new now, so it has, although it has been updated, it is we can say that it has been updated from so many. It has been amended from time to time. It has been amended. The last amendment was made in 2008, but the rules are coming under the rules are being modified by the Parliament of India under this information technology from time to time, and you may have You may be knowing about the recent rules um, which were notified by Ministry of Information Technology, whereby this Instagram, I think, they are supposed to have some redressal mechanism. That is why it was in news for quite a long period of time. So this is the strategy how the parliament is actually trying to curb this menace of cyber crimes. Now let us be more specific now. Now there is an old saying that ignorance of law is no excuse in law. So if there is some person who is willing, who is ready to pay a child for taking off her clothes in front of a web camera online, such a person needs to tighten his belt because it is an offense. This is the talk of year 2013, when one of the child rights organization, they created a fake profile. They set up a fake profile of a fictitious girl, namely Sweetie, in an online chat room. And the avalanche of responses which this fake profile generated, that actually astounded the investigators. You may be surprised that out of 20,000 people who connected to that profile, a fake profile that was developed by that investigating organization, 1,000 men were ready to pay that girl to take off her clothes online. A typical example of sex tourism, online sex tourism. Out of this 1,254, as per the data, were from United States, 111 were from United Kingdom, and 103 were from India. And little did the people know that this Sweetie was not actually a real girl. She was only an online avatar. She was a fictitious girl created. Now this investigation revealed one important thing, and that is that there is an increasing trend and emerging trend of targeting children online. And there was felt some need of some law that will deal with these online predators with an iron hand. If you will see at the global level, many countries, most of the countries have the laws in place that provide for the protection of children against any sort of abuse. But the laws that specifically provide for the protection of children in this online environment against these pornography and child abuse, they are only few. And we can say that India is an exception to some extent. Because in India, we have two provisions under Information Technology Act. That is Section 67 and Section 67A that talk about the child pornography, and that not pornography exactly, the word pornography has not been used anywhere. Please bear this thing in mind. But before I come to the pornography, let me take you to draw your attention to boys locker room case, very infamous case. Now there was a group active on Instagram that was named as boys locker room case. Now there were some 100 boys who were the members of that group, and all of them were the teenagers from South Delhi. What they used to do, they used to get the photographs of some minor girls. They used to manage these photographs. They used to morph these photographs, and then they would use abusive language. They also made other Instagram users to join the group. And this incident came into light on May 2nd of May 2020. That means when the lockdown was declared. When one of the ladies, one of the female Instagram users revealed that how she was sent the screenshots of the group chat, how she was sent those nonsense messages. And after few hours of this disclosure, this revelation, there was an outrage broke out on the social media with several other Instagram users revealing coming up with same screenshots. It raised that there was a hue and cry on the social network. An FIR was registered by Delhi police in this case, and Delhi Commission for Women, they started a suo motu cognizance of the reports regarding this group. Even a notice was shooted to the Instagram. Now two questions arise here. Why I have narrated these two incidents? Because two questions arise here, which are relevant for us as the students of cyber law. One question is, what is the offense that was committed by the teenage boys from South Delhi? And second, what is the liability of the Instagram? I am going to answer both these questions. As I said, that pornography word, you will not see this word anywhere in any law of India, particularly Information Technology Act. But by going through section 67 and 67A of the Information Technology Act, you can smell that presence of that deterrent against that pornography. Section 67, which talks about the punishment for publishing or transmitting obscene material in electronic form. Any person who publishes or transmits obscene material in electronic form, he can be punished. What is the punishment? In case of first conviction, the punishment is 3 to 5 years imprisonment and 5 lakh rupees fine. And in case of second or subsequent conviction, the imprisonment for 7 years and a fine of 10 lakh rupees. And it has been made cognizable. Cognizable means where a police officer can arrest a person without warrant. If some person is involved in child pornography and police arrests him, he cannot ask them that get a warrant from the magistrate only, then you can arrest him. It is cognizable and he can arrest a person, an offender, without any warrant. And it is bailable, but in second conviction, it has been made non-bailable. No bail can be granted. Now here you have to remember that child pornography is punishable per se. Child pornography is punishable per se. What does it mean? It means if you simply enter the words child pornography into the Google bar, so you will get n number of websites relating to the pornography. The offense is complete. The offense is complete merely by starting searching for child pornographic sites. You cannot keep the child pornographic material. You cannot share it. You cannot store it somewhere. Even if you merely store it in pen drive or in some another instrument, the offense is complete, because section 67A says that dissemination, storage, transmission, publication of any material containing sexually explicit act in electronic form is punishable, and the punishment is even more rigorous than the punishment that is prescribed in section 67. And it is also cognizable, non-bailable, and second conviction, it is cognizable, non-bailable. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now the Supreme Court of India and other high courts and lower courts even, they are conscious of this fact that there is a menace of child pornography, pornography in general, and child pornography in particular. As against the child pornography, adult pornography is not punishable per se. If you watch adult pornography, if any particular person watches adult pornography, he will not be punished. But he has to be very careful. He cannot share adult pornography on a public platform. And internet is a public place. It is not private place. It is a public place, a virtual public place. You cannot share it there. If the adult pornography is shared on public place, WhatsApp or Instagram threads, that's punishable, even if it is adult pornography. Regarding pornography, all the pornographic websites are illegal. That is the law. All the pornographic websites, child pornographic websites, I mean to say, are illegal. And it attracts FIR. And these websites are liable to be blocked. Nobody needs to make any complaint. It is the responsibility of police. If they find that there is some pornographic site and people are watching pornography, they should take suo motu cognizance. They need not wait for the people to come up with the complaints. They have to do it of their own. And we see that so many websites have been blocked on this ground of child pornography. And this is a menace. It is not ending anywhere, despite having the law. And Supreme Court is conscious of this fact. Having regard to the increasing trend of this child pornography, the Supreme Court has only the last, I think, 3 or 4 years back, Rohinton Nariman, a judge in Supreme Court, he said that these child pornographic sites are hydra-headed. Hydra-headed in the sense that you block one site, 10 other sites pop up. So it is not ending. So we need some rigorous law, some rigorous mechanism to deal with this type of menace. That is a child pornography. This is another offense. Unauthorized access. That is section 43 of the IT Act deals with unauthorized access. Unauthorized access, as the name itself suggests, that unauthorized access means having an access without any authority. Unauthorized access means having an authority, access to some computer network or computer system without the permission of the owner, without the permission of a person who is in charge of that system. And what is the punishment? Punishment is that a person having an unauthorized access can be held liable to pay the damages to the tune of rupees 1 crore. But there is a reason why this 1 crore penalty has been fixed. I will not go into the reasons. And it is again, like child pornography, unauthorized access is punishable per se. Punishable per se means it is punishable. When you have an access to my computer without my permission, you are liable for unauthorized access. You are guilty of unauthorized access. Your intention may be good or bad, but law is not concerned with your intention. It is strict liability. The complainant has only to show that you have an unauthorized access to his system. That is all. Once he is successful in proving it beyond reasonable doubt that a particular person had an unauthorized access, the court can ask the person having an unauthorized access to pay the damages to the tune of rupees 1 crore. Even if he has not suffered any damage, the person whose system has been accessed. Because there is a need of such harsh, it may seem to be harsh, but I think there is a need of such harsh law. Now the question is access. Friends, this access has also been defined under the IT Act. Access means gaining an entry into the system. 1. Access has also been defined as instructing or communicating with the logical or memory function resources of the computer, which you may be able to, though I am not able to understand this definition fully, I think you will be able to understand it, being the experts in computer. So the question arises, what will be included in unauthorized access? I won't hesitate in saying that if you keep my laptop on charging without my permission, that is also an unauthorized access for which you can be held liable to pay 1 crore to me. Although merely keeping my laptop, putting my laptop on charge, that means you are doing some favor to me. But as I said, it is punishable per se. Goodness or badness is not a consideration in law here, so far as an unauthorized access is concerned. So not to talk of taking printout from my system without my permission, not to talk about viewing the images and files on my system without my permission. One more thing. A person commits murder, he is an offender, he commits crime, he can be punished under Indian Penal Code, he can be sentenced to death or life imprisonment. That is the law. Now, if some person guides some another person to commit crime, that we call as abetment. If A tells B that you kill C and I will give you 1 crore rupees, that means B is a murderer, but A is instigator, A is an abettor, because A is abetting murder. Both are liable equally. B as a murderer and A as an abettor, has abetted murder. Now tell me, I will leave this question to you. You may do a research on it. If you will search, if you will enter into Google, somebody has responded by saying that everything done with consent. I would like to tell you that so consent. Now in India, consent is always not material. Consent is valid consent only given by a person above the age of 18 years. This consent is from considered any consent. Suppose you ask a boy, somebody asks some boy, a kid, to kill his parents, to poison, mix poison in their food and kill them. Will that boy be held liable, even if he has consented? The law says that is no consent. That's the protection enjoyed by the children. Say if he is of 7 years. For 7 years, even if a boy of 7 years is going to murder, you cannot punish him. You cannot sentence him because it is said that a boy of 7 years is not having that mental faculty to distinguish between good and bad. So consent is not always real. You have to bear this thing in mind. Okay. Now, if you search, I mean to say that I was actually, what I was trying to convey was something different. That is, what is that? I was actually trying to convey what I was trying to convey. That is, before the consent, what we were discussing actually. Unauthorized. Yes, I was actually talking about the abatement. Now, if you enter unauthorized access words, please, Mr. Google, tell me how to have an unauthorized access. Google will tell you 101 ways to commit unauthorized. And there are some sites which are meant for this unauthorized access. Now, the question is, can we hold Google? Can we hold those websites liable as because they are giving you the guidance, because they are actually teaching the people how to have an unauthorized access? That's the point I will leave. It is, you can work on it, and it is your responsibility to find out an answer to this. Now, hacking. For quite a long period of time, I was under this impression that hacking is an unauthorized access, and it is also punishable. But there is a hacking is something different. The word hacking also, it doesn't figure there in the Information Technology Act. In Information Technology Act, what figures is an unauthorized access. Hacking is also an unauthorized access. You have an unauthorized access to a system without the permission of a person. That is also unauthorized, but that is hacking. What is hacking? Hacking is not punishable per se. Hacking is punishable only when it is done with a bad intention. Sometimes a person, why he becomes a hacker? Sometimes a person, I am speaking the court language. This is what the courts have said. That sometimes a person has an intrinsic curiosity to know the things. And that intrinsic curiosity, that intrinsic thirst for intrinsic passion for knowing the things, that makes him to break into the system and go deep and deep into the system, into the technology, and he becomes a hacker. And it is not necessary that by doing so he should be doing some disservice or he should be committing some offense. Sometimes this will enable you to come up with something innovative that will do miracles in the health industry, that will may save the life of millions of the people who may be suffering from some fatal disease. So you have to see what is the intention behind this hacking. That will make you a saint or make you a sinner. So it is not punishable per se. So if hacking is done with a good motive, to invent something creative for the benefit of mankind, then it is not punishable. And if you do it with a bad intention, ₹1 crore penalty can be imposed. ₹1 crore, I mean to say minimum. Don't be under this impression. Now suppose some person hacks into the system of some government site or bank website, and he robs them of 20 crore rupees. So that is, the bank has to prove that they have suffered a loss of 20 crore rupees, then that much damage is capable. I mean to say that 1 crore is minimum. Then if we start discussing these crimes one by one, I think it will take 2 to 3 hours. So I will just make a passing reference to these crimes. You have section 65, that is tampering with computer source documents. If you have maintained some database, if you have maintained some bank, some office. Mr. Uwais Ahmed has asked a question, but I think you can ask me the questions at the end of the session. Will that be okay?
There's a request. There's a request to all the participants. Please let Dr. Alam finish his talk. Once we are done with the talk,
I think I
you'll
finished
be
within
given an
50
opportunity
minutes
to ask any
now. Then we
questions.
will to 15 minutes to wind up this. I think you and some are saying that your internet connection is not stable. Wind up my presentation within 10 to 15 minutes, and I think we have ample time after that. You can ask any question, any number of questions. So you have tampering with the computer source documents, ladies and gentlemen. So I mean to say that if you have maintained some document, if any other person tampers with it, tampering means conceals the document, modifies it, steals, deletes it. So that is an offense, and an imprisonment for that offense is 3 years, 5 to 2 rupees or both. And it is cognizable offense and bailable. Cognizable, now you understand, where a person can, police can arrest you without warrant. Bailable means where bail can be granted. And where which court has a jurisdiction, magistrate of first class can try such offenses. You should know it. You have section 66A, sending an offensive messages through communication services. That means you are sending some messages which are of menacing character. Now there are section 66A in the Information Technology Act that would deal with them, right? But this section 66A was struck down by Supreme Court of India in Shreya Singhal case, Shreya Singhal versus Union of India. This is the talk of year 2013, I guess, 13 or 14 or 15, when this provision was struck down. Now this is not the part of Information Technology Act. It was struck down on the ground that it is violative of freedom of speech and expression, and there is a history behind it. Basically, when that Supremo Bala Thackeray died, there was declared a Maharashtra Bandh, and some two girls from Mumbai or Delhi posted a comment on Facebook or WhatsApp. I don't know exactly. It is not some national hero who has died. It is simply an ordinary person like you and me who has died. And why you are calling for the Maharashtra Bandh? Now the Delhi police took the cognizance of this case and they immediately arrested these two girls under section 66A of Information Technology Act, that is sending any offensive message through. Now they challenged their detention before the Delhi High Court, and Delhi High Court held that this is dark law, this is a draconian law, and it should be done away. It should be struck down because it imposes um, restriction, a blockade on your right of freedom of speech and expression. So anyway, that was just a passing reference. I wanted to make to this section 60. So 66A is no longer the part of ITA. Your section 66B, dishonestly receiving stolen computer or communication device. So if you purchase some, receiving means receiving without consideration or receiving with consideration. In law, it is the rule is that any person who is found in possession of the stolen goods is presumed to be thief. Any person in possession of the stolen goods is presumed to be thief, though he or she may have purchased it from the thief. Consideration presumes that a person who possesses the stolen goods is presumed to be the thief. So if a person dishonestly receives stolen computer, somebody steals computer from my cabin and it is sold to somebody outside the boundaries of this campus, that somebody who purchased my computer, that is can be held liable, and the punishment is 3 years imprisonment, fine which may extend to 1 lakh rupees. It is cognizable, bailable, and which court has a jurisdiction, magistrate of first class. Then you have section 66C, that is identity theft. This is something important, as we in common parlance, I can say common language, we call it as phishing. But in Information Technology Act language, we call it as an identity theft. In identity theft, a person fraudulently dishonestly uses the electronic signature or password or any other unique identification number like Aadhaar number, photograph or biometric identity of another person. So you have identity cloning, as you have, which is an offshoot of identity theft, the identity cloning. In identity cloning, a person, a criminal, assumes the entire online identity of some other person by taking over all his online accounts, or a person may use the personal information of some other person to create further accounts. That is identity theft. And don't be under this impression that a person committing phishing will be less. No, the punishment is 3 years imprisonment and a fine which may extend to 1 lakh rupees. And it is also cognizable, bailable, and the magistrate of first class can try this case. These are all cyber crimes. Section 66E, that is punishment for violation of privacy. Now this privacy, this is not data privacy, ladies and gentlemen. This is bodily privacy. I'm the owner of my body. I have the privacy. So you have to respect my privacy. I'm not talking about the data privacy by Supreme Court in that Justice Swami's case. In the year 2016, it has been declared as a fundamental right that your data deserves privacy. That's your right. And if there is some breach of that data due to the state action or inaction, you can drag the state to the Supreme Court or the High Court. I am talking about the punishment or violation of privacy. That privacy is where a person knowingly and intentionally takes, publishes, or transmits an image of the private area of the body. That is violation of privacy. And for that, sometimes you see that people are changing their clothes in the privacy, and a person secretly has kept a hidden camera and takes the photographs. And that is an offense, and the punishment is 3 years imprisonment or a fine which may extend to 2 lakh rupees. It's cognizable, bailable, and again, triable by the magistrate of first class. Then you have section 66F, that's the punishment for cyber terrorism. Cyber terrorism is a crime under Information Technology Act. That means while you are using the technology may be any technology. You are introducing the viruses, you are using the cryptography, you are using any other technique to wage war against the government of India, or you are trying to do something that threatens the sovereignty, security, and integrity of India, or you are trying to use the technology to spread terror among the people. That we call as cyber terrorism. And for the cyber terrorism, the punishment is life imprisonment. This is very important. Life imprisonment, Umar Khair. It is cognizable. Again, a person can be arrested without warrant. Non-bailable, here the bail cannot be granted. And it is triable by the highest court of the district, that is the session judge, court of session. Now, this is not an ordinary crime. Cyber crimes are not ordinary crimes. Now, you see that these cyber crimes are mostly committed from the safe confines of of one's home or one's residence or one's office or a particular place. So this this has actually proved a boon to the criminals. They are under this impression that they can commit these cyber crimes with little possibility, that there is not even a least possibility to identify them and to apprehend them. So this is actually a problem, yes. Now, I am not an expert in technology. May have expertise, but the question is, you may have an expertise, you may get track of a particular offender. But how a policeman who is not even in a position to feed a particular mobile number in his phone, who is not in a position, and who is not willing to get these soft skills, how you can expect such a policeman to apprehend a person who commits a cyber crime? So training is must. Most of these cyber crimes are committed beyond the national borders. Again, this is causing a problem. Now, suppose a person is committing a crime while sitting in Italy and the target of the crime is in India. Now, suppose you come to know that there is some person, it is someone from the Italy who is doing this hanky-panky, who is committing this crime and targeting it against the Indian government or some person in India. Okay, you know it. Now, how you will bring him here? How you will get him prosecuted here in the Indian courts? Unless you have the international cooperation. The internet ensures anonymity. It is very difficult. And there's a lack of knowledge on the part of law enforcement agencies. Law enforcement agencies don't know about this law generally. So how you can expect them to deal with these cyber crimes? Let me tell you, as I was referring to that Bal Thakre's case, where that section 66A was struck down, and I am telling you that this is no longer the part of Information Technology Act. But you may be surprised, even in 2017, stations are registering FIRs under section 66A. Now, should we open the tuition centers for these qualified police people and tell them that, look here, section 66A is no longer the part of IT Act, and how you are registering an FIR against any person under that law? So that's the problem. This is to be looked at. Now, these are some of the suggested measures: that proper training to the investigating agencies, that is must. Adequate infrastructure is must. Sometimes you may give a police station the name of cyber police station, but when you enter into that, there is everything traditional. I can share my own experience. I was working on some research project relating to the cyber crimes, and I went to the cyber police station in Srinagar. And now let me tell you, this is what is it is in law. What is true, that cannot be defamatory. That's the reality, and we are doing it for the academic purposes. And I hope that that immunity for the statement which I am going to make. And I think they should be thankful to me if I am trying to convey to more and more people that what problems those people are facing in that cyber police station. First, they have the rented building. There are 4, 5-story building, and 1 story is occupied by the cyber police station. So no privacy. But this involves the, say for example, the child pornography incident is involved, and if some child is brought there, how they can ensure the privacy, confidentiality, when you have the hotel in the first story, ground floor, and on the second floor you have some public office, on the third floor you have some other office, on the fifth floor you have the cyber police station. And I asked the inspector over there that are you able to do justice with the cases relating to the cyber crime? He said that no. He said that we lack manpower. I asked him that how many people you need. He said I need at least 100, more than 90 people to run this office, cyber police station. And I asked him, this is the talk of year 2020, August. I asked him that what is the manpower? He said there are only 25 people who are working there in cyber police station. Now you tell me what justice they will do with these cyber crimes. And apart from that, as I said, that even if you are able to find a person that such and such person has committed a crime, and that person is from Italy, or say that person is from France, or that person is from United States, how you can bring him to India and get him prosecuted? We are not able to get that Modi and other, that Kingfisher, that who misappropriated huge amount of money from the Indian banks. So how to get these cyber criminals? So it needs a cooperation at the international level between the investigating agencies and between the governments. And don't be under this impression that the government of India is not serious about the cyber crimes. Government of India is very much serious about these cyber crimes and the increasing trend of these cyber crimes. And that is why. And Prime Minister has also said in his speeches that you can see it at the portal on that website of the Ministry of Home Affairs that I dream of digital India. Which digital India? I dream of that digital India where this cyber security is an integral part of national security. Though cyber security is no less important than national security. They are at par. If you are secure in cyberspace, you are secure. Similarly, there is a concept of digital police, and our Home Minister Amit Shah also said that he said that the efforts of the Ministry of Home Affairs is to create an effective platform, create an effective environment, to create just sit down, I'll wind it up. To create an environment, to create an ecosystem where the people are safe, where you can identify, where you can prevent, where you can prosecute the cyber criminals. That is the aim of Ministry of Home Affairs. And that is why they have come up with two things. Digital Police and National Cybercrime Reporting Portal. Digital Police it is not some robots who are running the show. Digital Police is actually a portal where it is actually providing a platform to the citizens where they can register their complaints online. And if someone of you wants to hire the services of some domestic helper, some driver, so you want to know the antecedents of that driver or the domestic helper, you can get those details, antecedent verification from that digital police portal. And apart from that, there is National Cybercrime Reporting Portal at Ministry of Home Affairs website, which was operationalized by the Ministry of Home Affairs on August 3rd, 2019, and it provides a centralized mechanism. Any person can report any sort of cybercrime incident on this website, on this portal, right? And let me tell you that this portal became operational. It was operationalized in August 2019 until February 2021. 3,17,000 complaints relating to the cybercrime have been received through this portal, out of which FIRs have been registered in 5,700, more than 5,700 cases. I think we should stop.